Honey is an all-natural food and often nicknamed nature's sweetener. Humans have been eating honey for tens, if not hundreds of thousands of years. Yet when you break it right down, honey is essentially sugar. So the question remains, can diabetics eat honey? A typical batch of honey compared with sugar looks like this. So honey also contains water and trace amounts of vitamins and minerals, much more so than sugar. That's why for 100 grams of honey, it has 82 grams of sugar, whereas 100 grams of sugar is essentially 100 grams of sugar. And as a result of the difference in sugar, the difference in calories is pretty evident too. So honey only contains 300 calories per 100 grams, and sugar contains 387. The impact of honey consumption on blood sugar levels tends to be slightly better than regular sugar. Now, one small experimental study on healthy subjects found that although 75 grams of honey did raise blood sugar and insulin levels in the first 2 hours, 75 grams of pure glucose raised them both significantly more. And similarly, type 2 diabetic subjects, honey also had much more a smaller impact on blood sugar levels than pure glucose. Now, the same researchers also looked at how honey compares with regular table sugar or sucrose, which is more applicable to real-life diets, I guess. And the initial blood sugar spike measured at 30 minutes was greater from honey than from glucose. However, blood sugar levels in the honey group then dropped lower than sucrose and remained lower for the next 2 hours. And for type 1 diabetics, the impact of honey on sugar levels was also far less than you would see from glucose or regular table sugar. So just to recap, honey does spike blood sugar levels immediately after consumption. However, after 60 minutes, the levels drop back down considerably quicker than if you were to consume the same amount of regular sugar. And this appears to hold true for healthy individuals and diabetics. There have also been several studies that looked at the addition of honey to the diet rather than as a replacement of sugar. Now, several studies have looked at the addition of honey to the diet rather than just as a replacement to sugar. Now, focusing on type 1 diabetics, a 12-week study found that additional honey improved short-term blood sugar levels as well as lipid profile, like cholesterol, and total fat mass as well. Now, unfortunately, the long-term sugar levels weren't measured, so we don't know if these improvements had any lasting effects. The longest similar study on type 2 diabetics was 8 weeks, and while they also found benefits for cholesterol and other lipids and body weight, long-term blood sugar levels actually increased quite markedly with that added honey use. Now, this makes sense on the surface because honey is sugar after all, but those findings from that study actually contradict much of the evidence in this area. When we consider all the other human and animal studies that supplement honey alongside anti-diabetic medications, honey doesn't seem bad at all. In fact, the weight of current evidence indicates additional honey is neutral at worst and beneficial at best. While it's romantic to believe that all diabetics should then be okay to eat honey, larger and longer human studies are desperately needed for a clearer picture. When you consider that diabetes is a complicated metabolic disorder, any foods that can improve metabolic health likely influence diabetes management too. Dark honey contains antioxidants which may help protect against some diseases. It's also been shown to improve cholesterol and other markers of cardiovascular health, and this would help explain why honey is shown to be beneficial alongside anti-diabetic medications in some studies. Nutrition advice is very rarely black and white, and unfortunately honey is no exception. If you are overweight and you've got poorly managed diabetes, there are foods that you should eat, but honey is certainly not one of them. Even though there is some promising research, results are still really inconsistent. So it's actually in your best interest to cut out all added sugars in your diet where possible. If you have well-managed diabetes, are not overweight and are otherwise healthy, then honey as a replacement for sugar is likely beneficial. I would certainly not go as far as to say additional honey is good for diabetes though. The evidence is not that solid. After all, honey is 90% sugar, which is the root cause of the problem in the first place. If you're healthy, active, and you don't need to lose weight, then honey seems safe to enjoy. It is more nutritious than regular sugar, especially dark honey, so consider swapping them wherever possible. But I think the bottom line here to remember is that while honey is better than sugar, eating neither is probably best. For additional information and the full list of references and studies I've used in this video, you can see the original article at this link here. It's at dietversusdisease.org. And if you enjoy the videos, consider subscribing to the email list on the website or to this YouTube channel, and I will keep making videos.